Hello and welcome back to Healing Between the Lines. I'm your host Shakara van Staden and this is episode 4. Notice completely different scenery, camera's a bit wobbly. That's because I am not in the office. I am in my dad's room. And this episode will be very emotional, very touchy-feely, and it might trigger a few people, so please do, trigger warning. I have noticed that I haven't been posting. I think it's been like 3.5, maybe 4 weeks now that I haven't posted, and that is because I have had the shittiest, and if I say the shittiest 4 weeks of my entire 23 years of life. And I've never been more thankful for starting my YouTube channel and my TikTok than when I did. Because now I've got a place, even if no one watches it, just to get emotions out that I can't get out when I'm staring at someone. I can get it out when I'm staring at a phone. So let's start like this. I thought 2025 was going to be my year. I got married to the most amazing man. My dad moved in with me, not because of anything. I'll get into that YouTube video, or I'll get into that story in a little bit. But 2025 wasn't completely my year. So on my main TikTok account, everyone posts your January selfie, February, March, April, May, June, July, and it goes so forth. So 6 weeks before my wedding, I was hospitalized and had emergency surgery because of my PCOS, which I discussed in episode 3. I had emergency surgery because of my PCOS and one of my cysts ruptured. Great. That was my first knock of 2025. Got married to the love of my life on the 2nd of August, which was amazing. I had everyone dear to my heart there. September went well, I think. Can't remember much of September. It was really busy at work. It was really busy just in life. October is where the year went a bit pear-shaped and when I started healing between the lines. So, start of October, my dad was hospitalized for a lung infection. Really scary. He was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And we left the hospital 2 weeks later without really knowing what was going on. They just said, he's fine, his lungs are clear, he can go home. And so we did. Packed my dad's stuff and went home. October, when we came home, I think it was the 14th or the 15th of October, we came home after being in the hospital for 2 weeks. Either myself or my husband being there every single day, talking to doctors, talking to my dad, all of that. He came home, and you would think coming from a hospital everything would go so much better, but it didn't. Throughout October and November, my dad had 9 doctor's visits, different GPs, because no one could give him an answer. The hospital didn't want to readmit him. He was still not breathing properly. So 9 doctor's visits in a month and a half. And I feel like everyone who is healthy would know that's not normal. November comes and my health goes pear-shaped. I ended up in hospital for 4 days again. Myself. Ended up in hospital for 4 days again due to the same issue as my dad. I was struggling to breathe, coughing my lungs out to the point where I was coughing and vomiting blood. Went to the hospital, underwent swallowing a scope, 3 CT scans, x-rays. Also couldn't find the cause. Got sent home. Got home, I think on November 6th I was home. Started work on November 12th. Yeah, I was booked off for 6 days. Started work on November 12th. Went back to work. life went on. Throughout my hospital visit in the beginning of, or in the in the beginning, middle of November, my dad got really sick again, and we ended up going for more doctor's visits. You guys would think that would be the end of this tragedy, but it's not. 26th November 2025, I lost my uncle. It was sudden, it was terrible. He was only 38, life of the party. We thought all is good and well. Well, not all is good and well. We were very sad. We were devastated. I mean, what 38-year-old just passes away? But my uncle passed away, was in tears. You know, he was one of my favorite uncles. It's my stepfather's dad, and he's one of now 5 brothers, but there were 6 brothers, and I knew all of them, and he was most definitely my favorite. And everyone was saying to me, thank goodness we had the wedding when we did, because my uncle was at my wedding. So we were happy that we had the wedding when we did, and very, very sad that we had to lose him so young. Fast forward 4 days, my dad ended up in hospital again on the 1st of December 2025. Took him in for a routine, wasn't breathing properly, he wasn't feeling well, his legs were swollen. The 1st of December after work, I rushed him to the hospital. Got to the hospital, and he was fine. He was making jokes to go smoke, and he was doing what he usually does, making these little effed up jokes like he usually does, you know, calling me names, me calling him names, telling him he's being a pain in my ass, and him telling me, well, I was a pain in his ass for 23 years. So, you know, my dad. We stayed at the hospital until about, I think, 11 o'clock that night on the 1st of December. I couldn't sleep. I had a gut feeling something was not right. It wasn't just lungs anymore. I was worried, so I couldn't sleep. Something didn't feel right. Eventually, at about 2 o'clock, maybe like 1:45, 1:30, on the 2nd of December, I fell asleep. Woke up the next morning, or woke up the same morning at about 6:30, 6:45, to get ready for work, to do all my things. And I see myself and my husband have got 3 missed calls in total from the hospital. And I thought it was a routine thing. We're like, hi, just checking in. So just to explain that, my dad had a stroke in 2023. So he couldn't speak anymore. Not properly, he could understand, but he couldn't talk. And so the doctors would, even when he was in hospital in October, they would phone me, be like, what's the symptoms? What's going on? How long has he been like this? They always spoke to me. So when I had a missed call, I didn't think anything funny of it. Phoned them back. I'm like, hi, Mr. Fogel's daughter. What can I do for you? They let me know that my dad had a heart attack at 5:30, and he's on a ventilator. Now, from a daughter's perspective, that's really scary. Now, I'm one of 4. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. The youngest being still in primary school. And to get that call after everything we've been through with my dad was hard. So they phone me, they say he's had a heart attack, he's on a vent, can you come so that we can chat? I ended up phoning work. I'm like, listen, I need to go, don't give a shit, I'm leaving. Because I was working from home that day, funny enough. So I phoned my work. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be online. I need to rush to the hospital. My dad had a heart attack. I need to be there. We get to the hospital, and I'm my dad's daughter. I don't cry. I don't get sad unless something really sad happens. I get aggressive. So I ask questions aggressively. I want to fight. I want to sort it all out. And that is unfortunately a coping mechanism that I need to work on. So I get to the hospital. The hospital is packed with a bunch of people. Now I'm getting irritated. I want to see my dad. I want to know what's going on. And eventually, I think like 15 minutes later, they call me in. They say to me, okay, this is your dad. I remember walking into my dad's room, seeing a bunch of pipes, which was so scary. Seeing a bunch of pipes coming out of his nose, his throat, his neck. Like, doesn't matter who you are, that's quite scary. But instead of doing what I'm doing now and getting emotional, I got immediately aggressive. And I looked at the nurse, I was like, where's the doctor? I want to speak to the doctor. What the hell is going on? Why did you guys put him on the vent? What is happening? I ended up speaking to the doctor, and they informed me it wasn't a light heart attack. He had a blood clot in his heart that traveled through his heart, split in two due to the heart attack. I was like, okay, all right. And I said, my first words after she spoke to me was, is my dad gonna make it? And she said to me, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. This was the Tuesday, the 2nd of December. Wednesday, the 3rd of December, took my laptop, sat at the hospital all freaking day from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock that afternoon, and worked. Was there, went and checked on my dad every little bit, went and held his hand, still no improvement. We were fine. He was stable with the vent, so everything looked okay. I'm not trying to be funny, but with this new phone, it looks like I'm looking at you guys very skew. I promise I'm not. My uncle's funeral was the 4th of December. So one day I didn't visit my dad. I was like, listen, I'm going to go to the funeral. It's going to be fine. They say my dad is stable on the vent. We good. Let's just continue. Went to the funeral. There was such a beautiful and such a memorable, and it is exactly what my uncle would have wanted. After the funeral, so the funeral started at 10. 12 o'clock, we went in for our, like your little breads and your sweet things and slideshows and all of that. Went for all of that, and I see I've got a missed call again. In the state my dad was, when I saw I had a missed call from the hospital, obviously your heart drops, because even though he was stable on the vent, it's not good for a person to be on a ventilator. And I phoned them back, and they're like, hi, explaining everything to me. And they explained that they tried to take my dad off of the ventilator because his stats were looking really good, and they already dropped the ventilator significantly, so they thought they could take him off the vent. They tried to take him off the vent. My dad's body did not want to be removed from that vent. His stats dropped, his oxygen dropped, his heart rate spiked. It was just terrible. This was on the 4th. Obviously on the 4th, I didn't visit him. Friday, I went to work. Friday the 5th of December, I went to work. 10:15, the doctor phoned me. She was like, listen, everything is going really well. My dad is responding to meds. He's stable. Wada. Like the whole katuti of what doctors explain to you. And I was like, awesome. Love it. Daddy's gonna be okay. I was in a very positive mood this Friday, the 5th. So 2 hours later, the doctor phones me again. Listen, it went backwards. Bring your family to say goodbye. I was like, okay, shit, that's a huge family. That's not, you know, 1 or 2 people. We're 4 kids. He has a wife. It's my mom's here. So my mom and dad got divorced. But anyways, my mom's here, my uncle's here, my auntie's here, my stepdad's here. Like, it's a big part of the family. I can't just bring them all in for a half an hour and let us all rotate. So I split it in 2 days. I said to the doctor, can I come Friday and Saturday? She's like, yeah, that's fine. So Friday, us kids went, his sister, my husband, and his wife, my dad's wife, went, and we said our goodbyes. And then Saturday, they gave us hope again. It's starting to look a bit better. They dropped the vent again. It's looking better. I was like, okay, great. Put all the first family in trauma because it's now going better. So like through this whole week, it was very up and down. But Friday was the first time I got the call after my dad being in the hospital for 5 days. 5 days on the vent. Friday was the first time a doctor said to me, maybe it's time you bring the family in. Saturday went, my granny was there, my mom, my stepdad, again my husband, myself, my dad's best friend, and my dad's sister. We all went again. We thought, okay, cool. Now at this stage, I saw my dad with a bunch of pipes for the 6th time. Now I unfortunately I'm a strong woman. You can speak to anyone. I'm a very strong woman. But day 6 was like my draw limit. I was like, I can't do this. Can't see him like that again. It's like you are ripping the little bit of my dad I had left away from me, seeing him with all these machines and pipes and all of this. So Sunday we decided I'm not going to visit. I need a mental break. So my auntie went. My auntie went to go visit, and she took my dad's hand. So let me just revert back, sorry. On Saturday, it went really well, so they took him off of sedation so that he can start waking up, so that they can remove the vent. Saturday, they removed him from sedation. Saturday night, Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is visiting hours. My auntie went. I just took a bit of a break. And she said she held my dad's hand like this. She pushed it and my dad pushed back. I was obviously very ecstatic. No matter how old you are, losing a dad is terrible. Everything felt so good Sunday. Monday morning, went to work. Was like, shop, we're going to be good. I can't visit my dad today, but I'll visit him on Tuesday. You should be awake by then, because they took him off of the sedation. Doctor phoned me on Monday morning at 9:15. She's like, listen, everything is looking really good. The only problem we're having is your dad's not waking up at the moment, but that's okay. We give 72 hours, especially for someone that's been on sedation for so long, to generally wake up, and then we start giving them meds to wake up. I was like, okay, how's his blood pressure? How's his heart rate? How's his sugar? How's his this? How's his that? Like, I'm asking all the questions a 23-year-old daughter should not be asking. And she's like, no, his blood pressure is still up and down. It's not staying stable, but his heart rate is staying stable. Everything is looking positive. It looked better than the whole week. I was like, okay, cool. I then received this WhatsApp at visiting hours at 3 o'clock when my husband went. I'm just going to add the screen recording over here. And at that point, apparently, my dad went completely 180. His blood pressure was 22/37, which not even a doctor needs to know that's not good. His heart rate stayed above 120. He was on 3 blood pressure medications, antibiotics. There was nothing more they could do. As you can see in the bottom of this WhatsApp, she said even if they tried CPR, he would not make it. I obviously went to my boss and I was like, listen, this is done. I need to go. My husband came and picked me up. went back to the hospital. So I worked until about 4, I think 4. He came and picked me up, shot to the hospital, got to the hospital at about, well, before we stopped at the hospital, I was like, listen, we don't know how long we're gonna be, so let's just get some snacks and some cool drink, you know, let's stay awake. Got to the hospital at 6, walked into the ICU. My auntie was sitting holding my dad's hand, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, was I could physically not touch my dad. I couldn't look at him, I could nothing. I was looking at his chart the whole time. And then my auntie's like, do you want to come hold his hand? And I'm like, no. My husband's like, babes, come sit here. I'm like, no. I was just looking at his chart. I was a bit hardkoppig, in Afrikaans we say, until about 6:05. So I correct myself. We showed up at 6:45. 6:05, I decided I'm gonna hold his hand and speak to him, because they kept saying to me, your dad can hear you, it's fine, hold his hand, he can feel you, just give him love. I was like, okay, cool, I can do that. Stay strong, you're the oldest daughter, let's do this. I held his hand and I said to him, like, listen, if you need to go, you need to go. I'm the oldest, I've got the kids, like, we're gonna be okay. You've been fighting for 3 years after the stroke, you haven't been well, like everything that people in the movies say. So I was like, that's what I needed to say. And I was holding his hand and I was making jokes, and I kept on looking down at his hand, and I was rubbing his hand and I was talking to him. And this is a type of trauma not any movie, book, therapist could ever explain to anyone. No matter how, if you haven't gone through it, you don't know it. I was holding his hand, and my husband left the room to go and phone his mom to ask if we could eat there, because we didn't know what time we were leaving the hospital. He was gone for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I was holding his hand, my auntie was rubbing my back, and she's like, it's okay, Shiki. And all of a sudden she was crying so much. But keep in mind, I was just looking at my dad, and all of a sudden she was crying so much. I was holding her and I was like, eventually her tears were down my neck, and now I'm irritated. I'm like, just, why are you crying all over me, dude? Calm down. And when I looked up, the heart monitor flatlined, the BP flatlined, everything was flatlined. My dad was gone. I remember I cried, like it's a bit of a blur. I remember I cried, I stood up, phoned my mom and my brother, told them, phoned my best friend, told them, phoned my boss telling her, listen, my dad passed away. And through this whole process, I was like so calm, collected, I was fine. Lost my dad at 6:25, 8th of December 2025. And I don't feel any daughter, especially no matter what age, whether you're my baby sister, my other baby sister, my brother, or myself at 23, I don't feel that's fair to go through what we went through. I don't feel that mentally I would ever be strong enough to handle a situation like that. A vulnerable video. This is a very vulnerable video, and it's one of the hardest videos I'll ever have to make. I don't think I'll ever face something, and I've been through a miscarriages, I've been through multiple deaths in 1 year, I've been through abusive ex-boyfriends, and I really thought that would be the hardest thing I would ever have to go through, until I went through what I just went through. And to all the people out there that are currently fighting with grieving or fighting to keep one of their parents alive, whether it's a mom or a dad, a stepmom or a stepdad, whether you are going through a phase right now where you are not talking to them, you need to appreciate what you have while you have it. I am very thankful. I had my dad live with me for 1.5 years before he passed away. And that is something those are memories I will forever cherish. And I'm thankful my dad made it to my wedding. Even though my wedding was only 4 months ago, I didn't expect to lose him this quickly. But I'm thankful I had my dad when I did. And I'm thankful I had 1.5 years to rekindle anything we might have broken in my 23 years. And spend the most amount of time with him I ever could. Because that is what is carrying me through this. And for all the people that are going through this, gone through this, or scared of going through a tough time with either parent, you guys are so not alone. And I take my hat off to all the daughters and sons that are going through this, and you feel so alone, because I am married and I had the biggest support system behind me, but I felt so alone. And that is just because my dad was my entire world. He was my hero. And I think he will forever be my hero. Something that I will forever cherish. So this was a really shitty episode 4. Episode 5 I am dedicating completely to my dad and my dad's story, because I'm not gonna let it go. But this was just basically an explanation on why I haven't been posting in 3.5 weeks. Like always, if you want to share your story with me, here's my email address. If you like hearing about people that's vulnerable and you want to be vulnerable with us, please like and subscribe. Bye guys.